This is Governor Bobber. I like good day doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Good Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Politics and Political Architecture. We're joined here by Dr. Don Irvine, and Dr. Thornton is doing his Road Warrior stint. It is his week to be in somewhere near the train derailment. He's investigating that for us right now.
Yeah.
Do we have another Love Canal on our hands or not? And we all know Love Canal is a bunch of bunk anyways, so just put together by the Enviros, But that's just my opinion.
I thought maybe he was going to check out to see if there are any more balloons floating over Michigan.
That's that too. He's pulling double duty this time. The balloons. By the way, I have a feeling I think the Biden administration right now is just shooting down NOAA weather balloons at this point. It's just NOAA weather balloons that are being shot down everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, their reaction is like, we may never know really where all these things came from, and I mean, there probably are balloons out there from hobbyists and other research, and they got a little bit hyped up and they started shooting down everything.
There was a $12 balloon they shot down. It was for some, and they're saying it's $12 balloon. They used like over $1 million. What is it? $1 million missile to shoot down a $12 balloon.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good for them.
Hey, this administration, it's really, it's just getting bad, frankly. This administration, they don't know what they're doing. They're just, and the real problem is his ties to China. And he's getting a little testy at press conferences about him and his relationships with China.
Yeah, now that the shoe's on the other foot in the sense of the Republicans control Congress and those committees, and they can start doing this stuff, it's definitely... Look, Biden has never really been known for being an overly even-tempered guy, right? You can get under that guy's skin, and he can't. And he has been testy in the past, but I think this is just... as we get a little bit closer to a 2024 election, this kind of stuff is hitting home, and he doesn't like all the attention on that.
I think the Democrats just don't want him around, I think, is the impression I'm getting. This is all the slow moving train of derailing his 2024 aspects, Because, he did say, like his State of the Union was pretty much his kickoff to his 2024 run, finish the job, But what I'd like to know with the Democrats, when are you ever? Every election is always finishing the jobs, and I think they're still finishing the job of FDR still today. Everything is about it's like we got to finish the New Deal. The New Deal isn't complete yet.
I think the Democrats are in somewhat a difficult position here because you've got an 80-year-old guy who from all intents and purposes, for most observers, even middle of the road to liberals probably say, we're just really not quite sure about how their Biden really is. If he's not on a teleprompter or something like that, he's not really good off script. He gets lost in a lot of things, and so that puts him a little bit of a pickle. Do you challenge the incumbent? That's a tricky thing. I mean,
Eugene McCarthy did that. Eugene McCarthy did that in '68, derailing LBJ's ascension to his aspirations of being having his basically, for an all purposes, basically like he had 2 years of John Kennedy's term, 4 years of his own, and this was supposed to be his second 4-year term he was going to get. And and there are a little bit of similarities between LBJ and Joe Biden. Other than the obvious one, both were a little bit racist, on their in their own right.
Though, I mean,
Uh,
and when you look at history, I mean, I would prefer LBJ over Biden. I mean, in terms of the politics have changed so much that
we,
the old
I'd
the
rather
old the
Bill
old
Clinton
Democrats, they're
than Joe Biden.
unrecognizable to these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Bill Clinton than Joe Biden these days. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
and this is the guy that murdered Vince Foster in Fort Marcy Park or had him taken out. We remember Vince Foster. I would love to like have.
but at least with Clinton, he did try to co-opt some Republican
Yeah, he
policy,
did.
right? Which was good.
What do you call? You know how you have these liberals that go around to Republican rallies and they hold up these signs. I would love to see get some Republicans to go to Bill Clinton events and hold up signs like "Justice for Vince." And I tell you, there's been a really busy music. Even our friend at CNN's morning show, he really stepped into it in his little tirade against Nikki Haley. She's
Yeah, he can't.
passed
I mean,
her
look. I
prime.
mean, even most of the time, liberals will say things, right? These guys, these
Mhm.
journalists, and the liberal journalists just rally around them and everything like that. And but in this case, you know, the fact that he attacked a woman just really was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
even his boss, even the head of CNN, attacked, said he was wrong.
Hmm.
He's
Yep.
paying the price for that right now. But yeah, Ron Brown.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny? I remember this. Remember when Ron Brown's plane went down? I was talking to Debbie because it happened around like noontime, and I was just talking to Debbie in the old AIM offices, and I go, Debbie, Ron Brown was going to testify before Congress tomorrow or later this week, and his plane just went down. Vince Foster's dead. Do you think there's a connection? And Debbie's line was, "Don't say that too loud, people. There's conspiracy theorists all over the place." And the mechanic that was working on Ron Brown's plane committed suicide too. That's another thing.
Yeah, there were a lot of odd things during the Clinton years.
The Starbucks killing, the women being killed at Starbucks, to the Bill Clinton body
Unsolved
count.
mysteries to do a whole season on stuff in the Clinton administration.
I know it's like they had all sorts of stuff. But I tell you this, Bill was, he was a likable guy. That's the
Right.
thing. Joe
Look,
Biden is not
look,
likable.
I think he was a great politician.
Yeah, he
When
was
he
basically the
gave
Democrats'
his
Ronald
speech at
Reagan,
the
frankly.
DNC convention, I thought, wow,
Yeah.
this guy's going to go places.
Hmm. I mean, he's basically the Democrats' counterpart to a far leftist Ronald Reagan, frankly. You know, you couldn't help but like the guy. I mean, I didn't like the guy, but I liked his policies. Not enough to vote for him. I mean, I like the fact that he came around to our way of thinking on the crime bill. I like the way how he came around to our way of thinking on welfare. Oh, that's right. That was all Newt Gingrich. Bill Clinton really had nothing to do. He was just dragged along to the fight. It was all Newt and the Republicans and Tom DeLay that made Bill Clinton so successful, frankly.
Yeah, but now you look at today's Democrats, there's no way they're picking up on any of these Republican policies relating to fiscal matters or anything like that. Instead, they're going to attack them as bad for the American, worker type of a thing like that. When in fact, at least the Republicans seem to now that they're in control, they seem to have found the religion once again to try to keep costs down and try to try to cut this deficit.
Hmm.
So it's already ballooned out of control.
Yeah.
But you don't get that line from Biden. They think they keep lying about how well they've done managing this country on
Yep.
a fiscal basis, and that's an outright lie. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, and I think the problem with the Democrats is they've gone so far to the they can't walk this back. I mean, Joe Biden cannot. He can't even do a Bill Clinton and pivot. I tell you, if Bill Clinton were president and he lost the House, what he would be doing right now is he'd be co-opting at least our issues about the border and turning it into a Democrat. He'd be spinning it into the way he co-opted the crime bill. Incidentally, that was Joe Biden's crime bill. If you ask Joe Biden,
Yeah, look, I think if when you're the
I thought it was
Democrats,
Newt
I mean,
Gingrich's crime
can't
bill.
you can look at the fact that the Republicans have got a razor thin majority. If the Republicans had another 10 or 12 votes, it would push
Yeah.
Biden to be a little bit more of compromising on things,
Yep.
when it comes to things that Congress handles. But they're willing to play this out a little bit, figuring that, this is they're not going to get overwhelming. Democrats are rarely going to join the Republicans in any kind of vote.
No,
So
they won't. Yeah.
this is the Republicans are just going to have to try to hold their coalition together and get the votes they need to keep the Democrats from spending wildly.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand this policy, but you're right in terms of can they, that Biden and the Democrats, they can't walk back because part of the problem here is that they've decided that they wanted the far left vote in Congress so much, the AOC wing, the squad people, whatever. They've given them so much, they can't come back from that.
Yep. And they really can't come back from. I mean, this stuff. Let me tell you, because you heard the whole outrage a few weeks ago when the anti-Semite Elon Omar was kicked off of a committee. Everyone made a big fuss about, what to do about nothing. Frankly, she is an anti-Semite. She is wrong for the Foreign Relations Committee. She does not belong there, frankly. And the way they kind of build everything up as being a left versus, it's basically a left versus left. I mean, Joe Lieberman, Al Gore's running mate. Was he Al Gore's or was he? No, he was. Who's running mate? Was he? He was. What's his name? Was he Al's running mate or was he John Kerry's?
Yeah, no, he's Al's.
Yeah, and today he is not welcome to the Democrat Party. I'm not even. This is not me going back to Scoop Jackson and Senator Moynihan and the days of Sam Nunn, who pretty much was pretty liberal actually for Georgia. There's a reason why we held on. We basically took that seat and held it until recently. And I think we need to. I think we need to find better candidates for you. I mean, look at this, Fetterman. Now he's checked himself in for depression, and that's always usually a side effect of strokes. That does cause, but they say, oh, he's had depression before the stroke. Yeah, I don't buy that, frankly. And there's, I think if McCormick, I believe, was it McCormick that lost the primary to Oz? Or he would have, I think he would have won that Pennsylvania Senate seat for us. I think Dr. Oz's biggest problem, Dr. Oz, great candidate, Dr. Oz's problem was he was viewed as a carpetbagger in Pennsylvania, moving over from New Jersey to run for Senate in Pennsylvania. I mean, if he wanted to, they should just he should have bought a farm or something in central Pennsylvania and just, he would have done better off in taxes than New Jersey taxes, frankly. And he should, that's what he should have done, but he didn't. But, it's, no point in rehashing the 2022 elections, frankly, because there was a lot of problems.
Well, I think we've talked about it, but, if we haven't, we in general, but I think this has been an ongoing problem for the Republicans for a decade or more. I mean, you can only imagine, if we had run better candidates than Sharon Angle and Christine O'Donnell, and you can just continue to name them over time, how different would the political landscape have been for the Republicans with that? And so as a result of that, Republicans, look, they shot themselves in the foot, and they get what they deserve for allowing those things to happen. As much as Mitch McConnell gets criticized by a lot of conservatives for what the way he does things in the Senate, if Mitch had a little more influence, if there was a way for him to have been able to help, help these states select the candidates,
Mm-hmm.
he would have come. Mitch McConnell would have been the majority leader for a long period of time. They have lost so many opportunities
Yep.
there. They
And
lost.
also, here's the thing: in Republicans, we kind of, and I'm gonna, in 2006, we had two. I mean, we had all these bills, where we had all these earmarks for things, everything from the bridge to nowhere to paving a street in front of a congressman's house in the federal budget. I mean, it was stuff like that sort of stuff. That's what really turned off people in 2006, and that's what I know. Everybody likes to say, "Oh, it's the war in Iraq and Don Rumsfeld and George W. Bush and why they." No, they lost because Republicans lost their bearings. They started porculous spending. They were, they had their own earmarks. I mean, these are the people they've lost their ways from the contract with America. Where they said they weren't going to have the crazy porculous spending. They were going to have. They were going to cut taxes. They were going to cut the budget, and cut the deficit, so to speak. And they started adding to. I mean, the deficit was wiped out thanks to Newt Gingrich in the class of '94. And then we had, the tragedy of 9/11, which, we had to go into deficit spending. But I mean, then they just put that on steroids, all that deficit spending, and I think the Republicans have come around back to the Newt Gingrich class of 1994 Congress way of thinking of cutting and reducing spending. And I think there's a lot more spending that can be cut. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could be cutting. Like there's social welfare programs that are not really benefiting anyone. All the money we're spending on this and that, it makes no sense. I think we should just be making, as Dave Ramsey would say, go on a real budget diet, where we don't spend unless we absolutely have to spend it, like national defense, national security. That's the only things we should be spending money on. We should not be. We should go to become like the jet blue of governments, no frills at all. You know.
Yeah, look, those Republicans, as say, lost their bearings because part of the problem is that you know a lot of those Republicans, going back to the Gingrich, time, the contract with America, there were a lot of idealistic people who were
Mm-hmm.
elected, and
Yep.
they really thought they could go in there and do something, and then they get in there and they realize that there are 435 members of Congress. This is
Yep.
not going to be an easy task, and I kind of like this job, and it pays pretty decently, and there's really very little
Yeah.
blowback if you just let the spending go because of voters rarely ever punish
Mm-hmm.
candidates,
Mm-hmm.
incumbents for their spending, for their spending votes. And so as that goes along, they're like, okay, well, but they will kind of reward you especially if you show that you've done all this great stuff in your district. And how do you do that? You make sure the federal pork flows into your district. And
Mm-hmm.
they're really good about that. All of the politicians on both sides are pretty good about that. And so you get this monolith, right? It just continues to
Mm-hmm.
grow. And then they talk about cutting spending. Well, you've got a baseline, and then they don't really cut, they need to look at that, and they don't cut the baseline back. They just say, oh, well, we're just not going to go above this, or we're only going to go 2% above this. But every time they do that and they create a new baseline, we just keep going up and up and
Yep.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it from a broad perspective, you're like, well, who's really suffered from all this deficit? We haven't really seen with our national debt the real penalties to what happens there. It is a ticking time bomb. It is not something that we can ignore or should ignore, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a very constant thing with politicians on both sides of the aisle that kicking the can down the road, that's their easiest solution.
Yep.
Because they know, a lot of them know that when the bill really comes due, when some of the heavy decisions have to be made, there's a good chance a lot of them won't be in Congress or in the Senate
Or
by
they'll
the
be dead.
yeah, they'll have retired or whatever. So it won't affect them, and the harder decisions will be left to others. And nobody wants, there really aren't very many people who really want to make the hard decision. We need to cut our spending. We need to really, we need smaller government, not bigger government, right?
Yep.
but there no, and there are politicians who will talk that game, but they actually don't go through there and actually make it happen.
Hmm.
So I'm still
And I
waiting for
really,
that day.
yeah, and I think that's what we really need to be doing is, here's the thing, all the money we spend. I mean, as you know, one of the new breakout hits of ABC's shows last season was Abbott Elementary School, right? Where we find out this season that the principal has not even doesn't even have didn't even take the exam to become a principal, and she epitomizes the corruption that goes on in these public high schools and public schools in general, where she treats the school like her own little fiefdom. When they got money, she decided to get a great big sign for herself outside of school. I know some of it might, but they're playing up every stereotype, and and it is that does happen in a lot of these public schools. They blow the money on stupid things like private parking for teachers' parking lots, repaving their parking lots, uh, basically redoing the teachers' lounge, and so on.
I
Opposed
I
to
mean, and most school funding is is related to property taxes in most
yeah,
states,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And I think you could easily look at school systems around the country
hmm,
and you compare them today versus say 20 years ago,
yep,
and what you've got a lot of middle management bloat and all of
yep.
these things. There's administrators out the wazoo
Mhm.
that didn't exist before. And what the
I
heck are
think
they doing?
yeah,
But
I think Montgomery County Public Schools has 4 administrators for every single teacher in the classroom, and these administrators are paid very well. They're not, I mean, they're making 6 figures in some cases,
yeah,
and the
and
money.
we're all paying for all of that. Even
And I would say when Jerry Cave ran for state senate, he says 33 cents gets into the classroom of our property tax dollars. 33 cents gets finally makes it to the classroom. Awful lot of people have gotten their hands on that from for every dollar that's on property taxes. By the time you get, if you 33 cents, where'd the 97 cents, where'd the 90 cents, not 90 cents, yeah, 67 cents go? You know, just saying, not to be that guy, but like really, it's the problem, and that's something that people are not. They're not willing. Nobody's really willing to take the hard look and make those tough decisions. It's all about the children. It's all. I mean, when Newt Gingrich proposed some cuts in education, it was all about the NEA AFT ran those for the poor starving children. How Newt Gingrich is going to cancel the free lunches and breakfast programs. I mean, honestly, PBS should definitely be defunded right now, today. There's no reason why we're funding PBS. Big Bird can fly on his own. Sesame Street could be on Nickelodeon or any other network and be making a lot of money. I think.
yeah, I mean
I mean, look. I mean, if you look at.
there's no problem. I mean, look, the PBS wants to have their programming. They can be like the other networks. They can do it a different way. They can go to the public market and become a corporation that way. They can go ahead and just continue to get bigger grants or whatever. They've already weaved in, a little bit of advertising into
Yeah,
what they got, some of the programming anyway at the beginning of the program. So,
and
you know,
I don't know if you ever flip through PBS on the weekends. They're always fundraising. Every Saturday, it's like some stupid fundraiser, and you get this weeded, you get a Nina Totenberg tote bag. Is she even with us anymore? Chris Flynn. But anyways, I mean, they're hawking all of this stuff, and the stuff they have on there is just pure dribble. They got these shows that could definitely make it. I mean, we've got networks that are dedicated to documentary, cooking, and so on. There's no reason why, what do you call, America's Test Kitchen. By the way, I believe I have seen that on another network, like one of the cable networks, America's Test Kitchen, where it is on a for-profit. I mean, shows like This Old House would be perfect on HGTV or any of those other subsites of HGTV. You've got what do you call? I may be dating myself because I don't think I've watched P. But like, what's that one? Julia Child. She could be on the Food Network. She could be on any network, and she'd make money for them. Or the Frugal Gourmet guy. He could be on any other network, and he could be making money. Well,
I'm assuming you're saying you're using Julia Child in the sense of someone who's a famous cook.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
since she's been dead for a number of years, but
Yes. But I mean, I think the Frugal Gourmet is not with us either. I mean, but there's a controversy with him that came out when he was doing the. Evidently, he was not as frugal as they said he was.
in today's world, it would be hard to be very frugal as a gourmet because food costs so much. Everything costs so much money.
The price of eggs is more than a pound of beef now. People are now gone.
We were at Costco yesterday up in Gaithersburg.
Uh-huh.
And you had two choices for eggs. You had the brown organic eggs,
mm-hmm.
or you had 7.5 dozen of the white eggs. It's like,
mm-hmm.
how many people need 7.5 dozen eggs, to do that? And I was like, I can't believe that's all they had were just those brown eggs, which they charge more for than the white eggs.
Mm-hmm. And it's I tell you, I like to go in and take pictures of the prices. I've got pictures from during the lockdowns when we had empty shelves and stuff like that. And I've gone in now, and I think the price of I once went in, and you could get those Oreo cookies for about it was still higher than normal. It's like 2 packs for $6. Now those same packs are 2 for $8. And it's not been that long. It's only been like maybe 6 months or a year. That has gone up, that much. If you also look at the packaging at Costco's, the Tylenol that you can buy at Costco's, the bulk kind, it's smaller than it used to be. It shrunk, but the price is still actually the price is a little higher than it used to be. So it shrunk and the price went up. And I mean, for most folks like you and I, we'll gripe about it, but we'll still buy it, frankly. But we'll gripe about it. But what about all the people that are living on a fixed income? The people that the Democrat Party always seems to care about. Oh, the poor grandma and grandpa who are having to collect cans to pay for their prescription medicines. I guess now they have to go collecting cans to pay for their eggs now, huh? James Carville was notorious for those types of commercials about when Republicans wanted to cut Medicaid, Medicare, privatize Social Security. It was always grandma being, running out of money because big bad Republicans took away the money. But I mean, inflation is taking away grandma's money, and now grandma's going to have to start eating cat food or picking up cans so she can go buy some eggs. I mean, a gallon of milk, a half gallon of milk is almost $4 now. You're right, absolutely. It's like, and it's crazy though.
Yeah, I mean, eggs are used in a lot of things, particularly if you're going to be baking. There was a funny article in the Wall Street Journal today about people trying to find egg substitutes in their baking with some pretty weird.
Actually, you want to get the best result. The best thing egg substitute is applesauce or sour cream. That is the best. I've used that in. I should say I used that, but it's used in brownies and it makes the brownies softer. They don't dry out as fast. And for cookies, I've actually got an eggless cookie recipe where I put in like a tablespoon of cream cheese, and that really makes them nice and soft too. The cookies, in addition to the butter, the 2 sticks of butter they're required to put in there.
Even that costs more now than it used to.
I know butter is expensive. Costco's, I think, a 4-pack of their unsalted butter is now $15. It used to be $10.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with inflation, I will give Costco. It's like my favorite place to be in terms of shopping. And for us, even though it's just the two of us, I mean, still buying things in bulk is fine. And young watch, she pays attention to a lot of the cooking stuff, and she was like, "Oh, you got to pick up the 25-pound bag of flour.
Yeah.
Used to be like $7 or $8, and now it was at 14." And I went there when I was there with her yesterday. I was like, "Hey, it's only like 11.50 now, so it actually
Yeah.
came down in price."
Hmm.
They're 40. I think this is their 40 pack of their water,
Hmm.
not the spring water, but the just the regular water.
Hmm.
It actually came down slightly. It had risen to 4.19,
Hmm.
and now it's back to 3.99. So it's like, you know, this is where Costco, if they can get the price down for certain things, they will.
See.
I mean, they lose money in the cafe on the hot dog and soda deal,
Hmm.
and they lose money on the rotisserie chicken, which they have
Hmm.
held what, 4.99.
Yeah. The pizza is still the same low price, low
Right.
crazy price.
They've done that, which is a help. But I think Costco, because of their buying power, now that things are, the supply chain's a little bit better and things seem to be a little bit more normal,
Hmm.
I think they can go fight back against the manufacturers a little bit and say, you know, we're going to hold the line on some of these prices. So, you just
Yeah.
you can't
And
just
here,
keep jacking them up on us.
and here's the Giant and Safeway actually has the same buying power because they're buying for all their stores around. Giant is more of a local chain; it's Mid Atlantic. Safeway is coast to coast, And I hear Winsome, which is a grocery store out in the West, is making its moves to come across the Mississippi River. And people are saying that's going to give the big retailers in the East a run for their money. But I think it'll be like Publix. It'll be stuck in. It won't go past Virginia just because there's so many regulations in the Mid Atlantic states to open up a grocery store. Even frankly, um,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, I mean, with Aldi and Lidl, I mean, there's not a lot of room for more different types of grocery stores anymore now. I think, with the way the prices are and the thin margins, this has become a very tough business.
mhm.
Uh, but we shop at a little bit of everywhere to because store the only really one of the three play we rarely walk into a Giant or a Safeway, and I don't think we've ever really bought anything at a Whole Foods. So
Hmm.
it's we
I actually do go to Whole Foods. I do go to I do go to Safeway, and it's just out of convenience. Frankly, it's just so much easier to go there.
I mean, we've had people bring stuff over from Whole Foods to our house, like their tarts and stuff like that.
They're not
Good
that good.
stuff, really, really good stuff. I just would never pay their price.
That's true too. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're for the price point. I don't think they're that good though. I don't think they're worth what you like. I tell you what is worth it over there. Their croissants, their butter croissants are really good. Um, Actually, you could slice one open, put a pizza on there, really good. Uh, and they've got some of their stuff's good. Their bagels are good, but I don't like their tarts and cookies. Their cookies seem. It depends on when you get the cookies. The cookies sometimes seem a little dry, you know. Uh, and they're all very. They have a lot of foo flavors like cloves and stuff they put jelly in and stuff like that. I'm sorry. Do not ruin a dessert by putting jellies in. No Black Forest cake. None of those cookies with the little jellies in them. It's like, what is this? I mean, I don't want to eat a fruit. It's like, uh,
I just want to know when donuts got so expensive. I mean,
I know. You know what's funny? I know it's a long time ago. Wow, like in 1996 when I worked for you, Don, I could buy a dozen donuts for $3 and a dozen bagels for $4, which included a tub of cream cheese. Right now, a dozen bagels is like, I mean, yeah, I mean, 1996. We're in 2023. I can understand those donuts going up to $6 for a dozen. I can understand those bagels maybe going up to $7, $8 for a dozen, but not $15, $16. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts is what, $13 for a dozen donuts or $14 for a dozen donuts. Krispy Kremes, and if you get the plain glaze out of there, like $10 for a dozen or something like that, Krispy Kremes. But I mean, who really wants to have plain glazed donuts? I mean, you get the good stuff.
okay, good. I'm glad that you mentioned Krispy Kreme and that glazed donut thing. Okay, there seems to be a love affair with the hot glazed donut from Krispy Kreme, and I'm
Yeah,
like, that's just not as appealing to me. But
yeah.
but what they do is that they'll say, okay, here's a special, like $1 for a dozen glazed
Yeah.
when you buy another dozen. Like,
Hmm.
so that you have to spend like $14 or whatever to buy the dozen to get the other one for $1 or two. It's like, who needs 2 dozen
I
glazed
know.
donuts with Krispy
Hmm.
Kreme? For me, I can't look. I want something. I want my donut to have, like, Young's favorite thing is, like, she loves Boston cream. I
Hmm.
like jelly and I like some other chocolate things. I want
Again,
something,
there you go. That fruit and desserts, they don't mix.
but so Dunkin' Donuts has got this, they have their app and they've got their rewards
Hmm.
program. And I took advantage of it a couple weeks ago because they had an in-app thing. So
Hmm.
to get half a dozen donuts for $3, but you had to do it through the app. And I'm like, okay, that's cheap enough for me. Okay. And you notice, like everything else in this world, the donuts have gotten a lot smaller than they were
Hmm.
back in our
Yes, they
main
have.
day, right?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think the Giant Safeway still do have the larger donuts. I mean, uh,
our favorite was Shoppers.
yeah, they're no longer around, are they? Shoppers, they're
There's I think there's some in Virginia, some other places, maybe in
really,
Southern Maryland, but yeah, I mean they're pretty much gone from up here.
and because that was owned by the Fantle family, owned Shoppers, right? It was the Fantles or one of
Well,
the Fantle children.
yeah, I don't know who ran that thing, but then they were bought by another company, which just
Yeah.
decided they wanted to get out of the retail and just stay with wholesale grocery.
Hmm.
So they sold off a lot of the properties.
Yeah. I mean, the old Heckingers in Aspen Hill, which became a Shoppers. Talk about retail archaeology with Heckingers. I wonder how many
Is that
review.
a Lidl's now?
Yes, it's Toledo's now there. Yeah, but there's a farmers market right next to it. It's really good. Country Boy. They got really good produce and stuff like that.
Is Country
Um,
Boy still there?
it's still there. It is.
Wow. Okay.
I s- the when we were going to stained glass, I was a little early, so I decided, let me stop in. Also, they have that's the only Staples, that and the one in Rockville. I think that's still open.
I mean, we used to buy some stuff from Country Boy when they had their place at Georgia Avenue and Reedy Drive.
I knew it used to be in Wheaton, right? I remember it when I was a kid. That place used to be there. It was it was a shack. It was even just, the new place is
It was
nicer.
not much, but and they also had like beer and wine. So I had a lot of friends I knew that would go in.
They still have that. They still do have that. They
Yeah,
do still have the
but yeah,
adult
that was a
beverages.
very popular place, decades ago. But that
Yeah,
property became way too valuable.
yeah.
So
That's a might. I think there's
that's why they wound up where they over in Glenmont. I'm glad
yeah,
they're still around because it's they're just a handful of those kinds of businesses that we
yeah.
knew 30, 40 years ago that have
Mhm.
still survived one way or the other.
I mean, look at all the retail. Look at all the grocery stores that have gone. Grand Union is gone. What was
A&P
the other one?
Super Fresh.
A&P, Acme, Kroger's. Well, didn't Superfresh become a Kroger's? Actually, is that what they did? They decided to rebrand all the.
No, I mean Kroger's has been this huge company that they
Actually,
now
Harris Teeter's is also Kroger's.
they own they bought Harris Teeter a number of years ago. They bought Smith's, which is out in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know Now they're trying to merge with Albertsons, which bought Safeway and
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn's, and of course that's another thing is that our wonderful between our Justice Department and the FTC.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna throw up all kinds of roadblocks to prevent. They don't like these mergers. This is the liberal anti-merger wave that we have, so that
Yeah, I mean,
consolidation is bad for everybody as far as they're
but
concerned.
you think with Kroger's, with they own all these other, shop. They own Harris Teeter's.
They've got
You
like
think
over 3,000 stores across the country
yeah.
now.
I mean, but you think they'd rebrand them all as Kroger's or all as one brand? And
Well,
you get the
I mean, in marketing, there's value in certain brand names,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so if you take, I know there's a
And
lot of
here's the thing:
Smiths in
people
Utah.
view Harris Teeter's, I think, as a
You know,
higher end grocery
yeah,
store
I mean, the
than a
first time I ever
Kroger's.
ran into a Harris Teeter was in North Carolina.
Yeah,
You know, and I think it had a certain cachet. So
yeah.
if it's got good brand loyalty, and they have
Mm-hmm.
still they can still make money off of that
Mm-hmm.
brand. I think that that's what they decide to leave that well enough alone. It's just that they combine all the buying for it so they can try to get volume. I mean, what does seem interesting with that when you think about it, though, is that one of the things that has to happen if you maintain those names is that you also then are also maintaining the house brand, right? Harris
Yeah.
Teeter has got its own house brand. That
Yeah.
means Vons and the other guys have got their own thing. Ralph's, all those things that have had long-term names.
But Ralph's actually, they've got that's I think if you go to Ralph's, they have Select, Safeway Select. I think they got rid of the Ralph's brand, and that's I think why Safeway did the whole rebranding to Select. So I think all of the because in Ocean City they have an Acme, which is also basically it's owned by Safeway. The people and you go in there, you see the Select brand. There's no Acme brand. Remember Safeway used to have their own brand of soda called Cragmont, which has now become Select Soda. Everything's Select is their house brand. I remember when they had Scotch Brite or Scotch Bar or whatever years ago. That was another one of their house brands they had. But there is something about house brands, and again, like I said, Harris Teeter's has a higher end vibe than Kroger's. Kroger's is like you may as well be going to Jumbo or Walmart food centers or whatever they're called. And these folks, I think the retail. I mean, we've seen a lot of these retailers go away by the wayside, and I think part of the reasons is regulations, and I mean Magruder's went away because of the death tax rules. The guy just decided to shut the stores. I mean, Banky's nurseries, they decided to sell off everything before the family died off because they didn't want the tax situation to impact the kids. And that's what's destroying. Same thing that's destroying family farms. It's destroying these family-owned businesses like the Banky's nursery. Remember Frank's Hardware? That was a local-based hardware chain that went under. Heckinger's
Hardware City. I don't think that exists anymore, right?
No, it does not. Neither does Heckinger. And Heckinger's actually, I'll tell you why Heckinger's went out of business. They just had lousy service.
They were terrible. Their service was awful.
Yeah, and you could never find anything, and Home Depot, when they first came, they were actually better. But guess what? They're just as bad as Heckinger's is now.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that Heckinger's. I mean, once Home Depot started to enter the territory, and their employees had been, plumbers in the past, and they actually were some of the tradesmen that were working the aisles. They had this expertise, and you could actually find them, But Heckinger's was just, I mean, it was the only place you could go to when I was younger because there was nothing.
Well, General Hardware was their competitor.
Yeah, because they were large stores, but over time, I mean, you can't just sit on your laurels like that. I mean, then this is what happened to the department stores: is that they just got lazy.
I mean, look at Garfinkel's. I mean, Garfinkel's used to be one of the premier Washington department stores.
Very hoity-toity.
Yeah, Woodward and Lothrop, and I mean Woody's going under. That kind of took me for a back because I mean they were like around and the Heck Company, being bought by Macy's, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to refer to Woody's as the millionaire stores. You have to be a millionaire to go in there because I mean back then was a nice dress shirt was $25, Today it's a bargain, but.
Unless you're getting a shirt from, say, Costco or something like that.
Yeah, but Woody's had the best local chocolate. I know the Woody's over in Montgomery Mall had a candy counter, as did the one in Wheaton, right downstairs. They also had a very fancy restaurant also at the Woody's in Wheaton had. Because I know now, what is it? It's a Macy's now, I think, that Woody's store, but they don't have.
Yeah.
They don't have the fourth floor. I mean, Woody's used to be like 4 or 5 floors, the one in Wheaton. And Woody's also used to sell appliances like refrigerators and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what department stores were. I mean, look, my dining room table, was purchased at Woody's. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably 38, 39 years ago or something like that. But it was when you bought in general, what we found is that when you bought department store furniture before all these mega stores started coming on the scene and everything like that, it wasn't cheap, but it was pretty
Yeah,
good quality.
yeah.
And
I mean,
led,
if
so
you look at Bob's Discount Furniture, their furniture is just disposable furniture. It'll be good for about 5 years. They got to throw it out and buy new stuff.
it's like buying IKEA or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I can't believe people actually do their kitchens with IKEA cabinets and like that. I'm like, that is just you're just asking for trouble using IKEA
Yeah,
brand.
when we were younger, right, we thought, oh, IKEA, this is great. We could buy this, that, and the other stuff. What we didn't realize is just, that there was not going to be long lasting furniture because the stuff that when you have to put it together yourself and it's held together between screws and some glue,
Yeah,
you know, as long as most of that furniture, as long as you kept it in one place and never moved it, you're probably
yes.
okay. As soon as you have to start moving
Oh, yeah.
IKEA type furniture, that's when everything starts to fall apart.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said, but I remember what is it? Rhoda's mother. She used to have plastic slip covers on her furniture back in the day.
Well, yeah, yeah. You think about that. I mean, that was a big thing too, is right?
Now,
Plastic slip
it's
covers on
yeah,
furniture.
yeah. I mean, on Everyone Loves Raymond, the mother, she's got slip covers in one. There's an episode where the daughter-in-law, Preheaton, is telling her, live a little. So she goes, and then she gets mad at her. See, I am anything but flexible. She takes the plastic slip covers off. And the Raymond and his brother and the dad sit down on the sofa. They're eating potato chips. They're acting like she goes, "Sit down." This is a damn couch. So she sits down. They sit down, and then all of a sudden, like they're all nervous to eat potato chips, and they actually knock the potato chips on. And then the mother comes in to see. This is why you use plastic slip covers. And she goes, "Take the cushions out." But furniture back then lasts long. Today's furniture does not. Even if you go to Haverty's, okay, which is a high end store, right? Haverty's, even their stuff is not that good. I mean, you pay $5,000 for uh, living room furniture, but it's not when I say 5,000, it's probably more like 7,000. But you pay that much for living room furniture, but it doesn't last that long, and I don't know what it is. They don't feel as comfortable as the sofas. I remember that I bought sofas from Sears back in 90 something. They're very comfortable sofas. I finally got rid of them about 10 years ago, and but they were very comfortable. You know, Nowadays it's just like everything's made in China or someplace like that. There's no what do you call quality. And we also used to have a lot of independent furniture stores. Like you had Broyhill used to have their own furniture store. And you can still get the low end stuff at the Hub or Marlowe. And now Marlowe isn't even Marlowe anymore. I think they've been sold. I think someone else owns Marlowe now too, like Galaxy Furniture or something like that. But it's it's ever changing retail. But it
Yeah,
goes
so I mean, I think every bed in my house, except for the adjustable bed, small bed that my mother had, all
mm-hmm.
the bed frames, they're all Ethan Allen. So
Ethan Allen's got good stuff. I've got Ethan Allen
it
stuff.
wasn't cheap. Even our kids' bunk bed that we still have,
Mm-hmm.
none of that stuff was cheap. But boy, is it durable as heck.
Yeah, I've
And
got.
I still have I still have one of my couches from my parents that
mm-hmm.
was reupholstered. I'm pretty sure they bought that one from Danker Furniture.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, great Republican supporter.
Oh, was he?
Brown Danker. Yeah, she used to come to our Lincoln Day dinners. Now she lives in Florida. But I mean, yeah, I've got what do you call Ethan Allen. One thing I hate about Ethan Allen, you got to wait like 6 months for the stuff to come in because it's all customized. Like my living room furniture and the dining room is all Ethan Allen, and actually the coffee table is Ethan Allen, and actually the coffee table is so old. I had them painted white and do like black accents on it. It looks really nice. But it's still good as new. It has little wheels on it, so you can easily move around and stuff like that. But it's it's just things they really don't make things like they used to, as they say.
Yep, granted.
And by the way, did you see that used car prices are going back up? They went down for about 2 3 months in October to about December, but January numbers have used car prices going up about 3%.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody affords a car these days if they're going on a car payment because with higher interest rates and everything like
Yeah.
that, people are just getting and the prices of cars, they're really getting big sticker shock.
I tell you, and they were having a hard time finding the lorry. I got a letter from Coons where I bought my Yukon saying, "Hey, we really need your Yukon. Will you sell it back to us? We will give you top dollar for it." And my response is, "What? Do you have another Yukon for me to drive off in? I mean, the fact that you want my Yukon this desperately must mean you don't have another Yukon for me to drive off in." I mean, I go, "What about?" I go, "I don't mind building a Yukon, but I got to wait for it to come in. What am I going to drive? Are you going to give me a loaner for the 3 or 4 months I have to wait? I mean, God knows I gave up on my Hummer because you kept delaying, delaying, delaying. You know, although I did see a Hummer, and it wasn't the SUV; it was the pickup truck out in the wild not too long ago, actually, out in Colombia. But I mean, that's the only one I've seen. Maybe there is only just one. It's just being driven around everywhere. I've seen a whole lot more Rivians out there, but Rivians are not that great from what I understand. But I mean, you look at my Yukon that I've got, which is in the top trim level. Today, that same car is $72,000. That's almost $20,000 more than what I paid for mine brand new.
Yeah, I think young she checks the auto broker places that around here that we've bought cars from before. She's just always curious about how the car prices are
Yeah.
going. And so she'll check like the Lexus prices and you
Hmm.
know a Lexus sedan, the ES 350
Hmm.
level kind of a thing like that. They're probably $10,000 more than they were just a few years ago,
Hmm.
with higher mileage than what we paid for our cars.
Yep. And I mean, when you have a Ford Explorer Platinum, I think it was a Platinum, which has about 25 to 30,000 miles on it, they want close to 40 some $1,000. And it's not even a 2020, it was like a 2019. Uh, that's a lot of money for a 2019. And it's coming up with 5 years pretty much, 2019's. I just thought, it's like, I mean, my parents' first house cost less than $72,000. I think it was 71,000, but still. And now we're paying that much for cars. That's just baffling.
Yeah, I don't know when the next time I'll need another car because, my car's a 2017 that I bought
Hmm.
used,
Hmm.
but I've got 44,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So
my Yukon's only got 28,000 right now on it. That's another reason why I think they really want the car.
yeah, I
But
mean, if I'll be glad to trade in my car for a newer model if it only if it only cost me a few $1,000s more.
hmm, yeah,
That's
I
highly
agree.
unlikely.
I totally agree. It's really, it's one of those things where like things, and that's something that people don't seem to understand. This is really affecting the average person. I mean, making somebody making 50 to $100,000. How are they able to? How they would have to? My best advice for those folks is save up the money and just pay cash for the car. Because I mean, especially with the interest rates right now that you're having, you might have to wait a couple years to buy your car. But paying cash opposed to paying, I think, what is the new car interest rates? What, 5% now? 4 to 5% right now is what their average
Yeah, I
rate is
mean,
for.
if you get a 4% rate, you're getting a good deal,
Yeah.
within and I'm pretty sure based on these economic reports this week that, interest rates are not going to go down this year. You know,
No, they're not.
the Federal
Even
Reserve
though
is
Joe Biden at the State of the Union said, oh, not State of the Union, what was he, the other day, where he said, the price of gas is down. We're beating inflation. Inflation's down. Yeah, took it all the way up to 9%. Now it's back to like it's at 6.4 or something like that now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disingenuous. It's such a
It's still
lie.
higher than it was when you came into office when inflation was a manageable 1%, which
Yeah,
is pretty much zero inflation at that point.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, the idea the Federal Reserve had that target of 2% inflation by the end of the year. That's not going to happen.
no, it's not. I think I'm cautiously optimistic, as in, I don't think we're going to have a bad recession, but it's early, and I mean, there's a lot of layoffs going, but there's also a lot of hiring. Um, I think I mentioned this last week. PF Chang's managers are making $90,000 plus as a manager of a PF Chang's. You know, and you've got, I mean, the managers at the Lidl are making about $60,000, $70,000 for a manager of a Lidl supermarket. I mean, and they're still having a hard time finding people for these positions. You go to the Safeway and the Giant. I mean, you go to the Giant. I went to the Giant on Rockville Pike, and I just noticed, maybe they've had this for a while, but I just noticed they have more self checkouts there. They've converted the regular registers also into self checkout lines too. And the problem is not that they don't have that they want to do that. They have to do because they don't have the manpower, because nobody wants to work anymore. That's the sad part about the whole thing. Nobody wants to go be a checker at a Giant or say. I mean, I was talking to one of the managers at the Kensington Safeway, and she was telling me, she goes, "Yeah, we hire people. We tell them you're gonna have to lift boxes and do stuff like this." She goes, she had one person start working. She goes, "These people don't understand what they have to do when you hire an employee. You're starting to spend money on them before you get a return on that employee. You know, you're pay, like especially like in our realm, my realm of government contracts. I got to pay to have their badging done and all this, their backgrounds and all that has to be done, and we pay for all that stuff. Uh, and then it's always frustrating when after you do all that, the employee can still send you an email the day they're supposed to start and say, "Oh, I don't want to work for you. I decided to go a different direction.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
look,
out."
the onboarding and training of a new employee is not
Yeah,
zero.
yeah. And I really wish we could collect from employees who decide they signed their offer letter, because that offer letter is not. They signed that offer letter, you know, um, and then they decide that on the day that they're supposed to start, you get an email, not a phone call, out of courtesy. No, not even a phone call. You get an email saying, "Oh, I'm not coming, and I don't want to work for you." It's like, that is very unprofessional, very very unprofessional, frankly, when people do stuff like that.
It would be interesting. I mean, yeah, I hadn't thought about it. It would be interesting if you said if you know you make somebody an offer or whatever, says, but here's the one thing is that kind of like a college application,
Yep.
you need to deposit $100 or whatever so we can
Hmm.
process this, and
Yeah.
you'll get in this case you'll get it back on your first paycheck. But
Hmm.
if you do not start the job, if don't last that first 2 weeks or whatever, you forfeit that. So at least the employer would get
And I tell
a
you what,
little
we
bit of
really need.
protection.
I think one of the things we really do need to drop is the COVID vaccine mandates that a lot of these places have. You know, NBC had an article today about, hey, herd immunity is not that bad. It's working, and it's just as effective as people who got the vaccine. And my point is this: I'm not telling people. If somebody asked me for my 2 cents, yeah, go get the vaccine is what I would say. I'm not going to say you have to go get the vaccine, but it's kind of like I'm not a smoker, never been. I would not, but if somebody wanted to smoke, it doesn't bother me. You want to let up those cancer sticks, go for it. Don't come to me to pay for your health care when you get lung cancer and or can't. You know, um, I think that's how it should be, frankly. But it comes down to, and I think if we did lift the mandate, we would have a healthier workforce, by the way, as in more people wanting to work for places, not being zoned out. By the way, we are at 8 o'clock, Don, so we should have a little alarm that goes off. So final thoughts. Don, I'll start with you.
Okay. We talked a little bit earlier about Nikki Haley in terms of Don Lemon's comments about her, but
Mm-hmm.
she has officially jumped into the 2024 presidential race,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. That's fine. I don't think she's got, a snowball's chance really of getting very far with this, but,
Mm-hmm.
but this may be just setting her up as a viable VP candidate for somebody, maybe a DeSantis or who knows what down the
Although
line.
I will say she has a better chance than a certain governor that we all know and love.
That's true. That is very true. And so we'll see where this goes. I mean, she's a smart woman. She's well spoken. I mean, I think she can give a good talk. I think she can get some people excited about things and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and at least talk about policy in a smart way. So we'll see. I mean, we're still early in it, and we won't come up for an Iowa caucus until what, January of next
Mm-hmm.
year. So we'll have to wait and see how this is, and whether or not she can actually raise any money to stay in the race. On the other hand, Ted Cruz said he isn't going to run, which is probably a good decision on his part too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what this does. But as we said, Don Lemon, Susan Boy dissed her badly, and he's definitely he's paid a price enough that he's had to go and apologize.
Has he been suspended? I think he should be
I mean,
suspended.
I do think that Don Lemon thought that because she was a Republican, that he could get away saying something stupid like that, not
Mm-hmm.
realizing that because she was a woman, that even liberal women were going to be upset. Some liberal women were going to be upset with that, and all of this, and she wasn't ready. She wasn't in her prime, and all of this. I did love the whole idea of Nikki Haley's talking about this mental competency test for politicians over 75,
Mm-hmm.
because look, to be honest, we've got a lot of politicians, Republicans and Democrats, that when they're getting into that 75 to 80 year age
Mm-hmm.
range, it does become a little bit questionable about exactly their acuity. Dianne Feinstein, who is not running for reelection, is definitely an example of that. She's about to turn 90, I guess, and there's no doubt that she is definitely confused about things. So
Yeah,
she's
I
maybe
understand. There's. I was reading a book about her oldest surviving Confederate war bride.
twice.
I could not resist.
So we've got that. We've got my favorite White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP, saying this week that Biden was the best communicator in the White House. This woman amazes me. I mean, she is so incompetent, but she
Mm-hmm.
actually says everything she does from the podium with a straight face.
Yeah,
She
I
can't
understand.
explain
Yeah.
diddly squat. She couldn't explain NORAD about the balloons and everything like that. She has
I,
no idea what's going on.
and I also understand she went to journalism school in Baghdad, Baghdad Bob's School of Journalism. That's where she went to learn journalism.
Well,
That's what she is bad as. Oh, the Americans aren't coming.
I
As the
did,
statue of Saddam is pulled down in the back.
as far as Biden being the best communicator in the White House, I thought, well, I mean, you could try to interpret it another way, saying like, for the take a look at the entire administration. And I do think that Biden is a better communicator than Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but this is part of the Biden administration's problem, though, is that he put Karine Jean-Pierre in there. She's black, female, lesbian, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can't. He's locked into her. She needs to resign because he can't fire her.
Mm-hmm.
But
It,
his administration is sinking in part because she is so incompetent. She cannot defend the administration with any ability whatsoever. So, he shot himself on the foot because he wants to be this whole diversity and inclusivity and all this kind of stuff. but this woman is horrible, absolutely horrible when it comes to doing this. Now, if you're a Republican and a conservative, you're like, yeah, just keep her in there because the more she talks, the worse things get,
Mm-hmm.
and the better things probably get for Republicans in that line. But she's just terrible. I mean, she's an embarrassment. That if you look at America and her reputation, you look at her and it's like they picked her to become the White House press secretary.
Yeah.
Give me a break. And then I think I'll just say, on Bruce Willis with the revelation by Demi Moore and some others about this is what is it, frontotemporal dementia. So they had said before he had aphasia, so he was having a hard time with words and stuff like that. But now he's got a form of dementia. This is too bad. I mean, I love Bruce Willis in his prime, right? I mean, the whole Die Hard stuff and all this stuff, definitely kind of the action hero kind of guy,
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that. So this is a sad, note to a guy who'd been a great actor. He, I think as he was getting older and maybe some of these other issues were starting to creep in, he grabbed a lot of roles that were just not good at all. But remember him for some of the career highlights that he had, and Yippee I-O Kaye, right?
Yeah. And remember, he was also in that great ABC comedy Moonlighting
Oh,
with
Moonlighting.
with
What a great they were great
with
together.
Sybil Shepherd, and what they, what's funny is that show only had like, I think they had less. I mean, it was on forever, but I think for some reason they had less than 100 episodes done
Hmm.
for this show. And I'm not sure why, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
Eh,
that was such a cleverly done show.
yes, yeah. And that was actually maybe the first time I think America kind of met Bruce Willis and
Yeah,
Sybil Shepherd for that matter.
yeah. No, I mean, I think that show really vaulted them into major stardom. They were so good at that brought them more roles and other things, made them a
Yeah.
lot more money.
Hmm.
All right, I'll
And yeah.
turn it over to you.
Okay. A couple things. Final thoughts. I would like to mention to people Love Canal and why. What does Love Canal have to do with anything that's happening today? East Palestine, Ohio. Uh, and we all know Love Canal is a lot of bunk and hooey. And right now, people are living in Love Canal, New York, right now, and they're just fine and not getting cancer. But what's happening in Ohio is reprehensible. They had a meeting last night. Pete Buttigieg did not show up, nor did he even send one of his little lackeys to go out there. Pete Buttigieg is more concerned about the way what construction workers look like in the neighborhoods. I mean, Don, I've always wondered that. When I'm walking down, why don't they look like me? We're like, I really don't pay that much attention to people that are paving the streets or whatever. And ever it's never come to me. What do you call 'em, why they look like me or they don't look like me? I don't care, frankly. I just want them to do a good job, frankly, and I don't want the utility company coming 2 weeks after they repave the road to dig up the road all over again, mess it up again. And they need to have some coordinations on that, but that's another thing. But Pete Buttigieg is yeah. Oh wow. you know. And that's it's like so Love Canal. I mean, that's still the liberals' big. They always point. The liberals like to point to Love Canal as evil corporate America and businesses and so on. But yeah, look at and did you hear Pete Buttigieg? He blamed Donald Trump for the derailment. He blamed Donald Trump for that derailment. That is crazy, crazy, crazy. Also, we this week also we lost Raquel Welch. She played most people of my generation and younger probably know her best as uh, the assassin for Intergang in the Lois and Clark series on ABC, where she had Intergang develop a kryptonite lipstick where she kissed Superman to give him kryptonite poisoning, and then he had to go into a nuclear reactor to burn out the kryptonite from his system to get his powers back. But rest in peace, Raquel Walsh. I know she's done a lot of other stuff also, but I just know her from that, and I think she's done some other stuff that I might have known her from. I think she may have been on an episode of Wonder Woman or something like that at some point, or Bionic Woman, one of those shows.
She had a long career.
Yeah, and it's funny. I had her when first when I saw it. I had her confused with Sophia Loren. You know. And on the subject of entertainment and so on, Don, remember last week we were talking about one of my favorite movies I discovered called Duel. It is going to be on this Saturday on Svengoolie on MeTV. It's about a guy being chased. He's got an orange Plymouth Valiant that's being chased around by this semi. Everybody should watch this. It is a great movie. Oh, who's this? Oh, I did not know that. Burt Bacharach died?
Burt Bacharach, yeah. I will say, I mean,
Tim McIver passed away too this week.
Who?
Tim McIver.
Tim McCarver.
McCarver, yeah, there you go, McCarver. Here.
Yeah, I loved Tim McCarver as a baseball player, as an analyst. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable guy.
Yeah. And like I said, it's Duel, great movie. It's the guy from, I forget who plays him, the guy from McCloud. And if you catch the movie in the middle, you'll swear you're just watching a McCloud episode without
Dennis
the horse.
Weaver?
Yeah. He's the guy driving the Plymouth Valiant. That's being chased around. And I think the story is somebody said, what do you call that? What is it? He cuts off this truck, and that's why the guy's like hunting him down. And it is great. Watch it to the end. It's got a really great ending. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But what I'd love to see MeTV do is bring back the airport movies. Bring back Airport 1970. Where the plane is stuck in the snow at Chicago Airport for most of the episode. Then they get in the air, and then somebody's got a bomb, so they got to come back. But I just think it's funny. George Kennedy has a funny line in there where he's what do you call it? He's telling the pilot to give more power. And the guy's like, we can't do it. You'll flip the plane, and they burnt something outside they replace it. Then he comes back, and this time George Kennedy, and he gets it stuck out of the snow, And the other captain's going, the plane's gonna cartwheel. I'm like, I didn't think that could happen, but and that's yeah. Hey Don, I think we lost you.
You lost me?
Well, the video's gone. I got your audio, but your video's gone.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're at the end of the show.
Yeah. So, anyways, watch Duel this weekend on MeTV. If you're in Montgomery County, it is channel 23. Check local listings. Great movie. Great movie. I am not going to watch it. I'll probably DVR it and maybe watch it later because I got other plans. But definitely a great movie to watch. Well worth the watch. And with that, take care, everyone. And we'll see everyone next week.
Yeah, my disembodied voice says goodbye.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Good night, everyone.